Hello, this is your teacher, Paul. Today is August 20th, 2021. And today the topic will be on climate change and what you might be able to do, or all of us can do, to help uh, with the problem of climate change. And what are some of the things that some of the simple things that we can do to address this problem? the the world is getting hotter, and it's having an effect in just about every different part of the world, where there's more rain, or it's really dry and there's drought. There are bigger storms. Hurricanes are more fierce, tornadoes, that kind of thing. You can put your comments to the right in the chat area if there's anything that you wanted to mention about climate change, or if you have any questions about it. I'm not an expert, but I certainly am concerned about it enough that there are things that I personally do just because I think it's important to think about my impact as an individual on the planet. There are things that you can do regarding your the food that you eat, or how you travel, um, the clothes that you wear, the occupation that you choose, how you become informed about an issue, I think, is important. How you talk about it is important. So we'll do this for maybe half an hour today. I was on a couple days ago, and the topic at that time was Afghanistan. And so if you want to bring that up again, that's okay too. That's still an ongoing issue. And I'm just, I'm trying to get used to this format. Before, I was making lots of videos, relatively short videos on English grammar and usage. And I'm still doing that, but I wanted to give this a try because it's a challenge. I think it's interesting to interact with people who would typically go to my website. And so I'm, just trying something new, and I'm getting some people coming in now. Juan from Colombia. I know climate change is having impact in South America. Perhaps the precipitation has increased. The amount of rainfall. I know Colombia gets a lot of rain, so perhaps you've noticed the rain has increased, or flooding has increased. Flooding has been an issue here in the U.S. recently in certain parts of the country. Um, when there's a flood, the water rises, and it's sometimes difficult to control that rise of the water, whether it's from a river or if it's just from areas that are prone to flooding. That can be a huge problem because the water enters a person's house or apartment, and then creates enough damage that sometimes it can't be fixed, and then the building has to come down, or you're just the things that are inside your home are destroyed by water, and those things are hard to replace. Muhammad says that most people on earth are worried about the effects of climate change. I think a lot of people are thinking about it. I'm not sure if they're concerned enough about it. Certainly, there's an awareness of it, and if you've watched the news this last summer, you've noticed that the increase of very noticeable in some parts of the United States. It's creating fires in areas that normally would have fires, but now the fires are more frequent, and the numbers of fires are increasing. So I was just in Montana. I think I mentioned this last time I was on. I was just recently in Montana, and there were quite a few fires that had broken out in Montana and in Washington. Also, there were several fires there. Um, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Vigitcan says industrialized and improved countries have most responsibility for climate change and global warming, and I agree absolutely. And so I think anyone who has 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 an impact on the environment, from driving a car, from consuming food, or um, just consuming things that you buy at the store. I think I think everybody has to just be very conscious of what impact those buying decisions have on the environment. How much meat are you eating right now? That has an effect. The more meat you eat, the more resources have to go into the the animal that produces that meat. If it's beef, that the cow needs a certain amount of grain in order to um, put on weight and have enough um, flesh or whatever to consume. So artist says that Turkey is experiencing all the effects of global warming, floods, fires, drought. Yeah, and that's happening here too. And Frozen Burger says it's sad that there are conspiracy theorists who don't believe climate change is real. And I agree with that statement as well. It's not hard to, just pay attention, and even where you live, notice the differences. I live in Minnesota, and I've noticed that the winters here, which are normally very severe, are now much shorter. Um, and well, I shouldn't say they're not always shorter. Sometimes they're as long, but the temperatures aren't as low as they used to be. And it seems like um, recently there's been less precipitation, less snowfall. So that's one thing I've noticed. Also, it's strange that we have these long autumns that are kind of hot now or warmer and last into November, and then the some of the colder temperatures that you would normally have only in winter are extending into spring, and that's accompanied by snow. So we've had some big snowfalls in April, which is unusual. Late April, where there might be a foot or two of snow. Normally, that doesn't happen. Juan says is mentioning the climate is crazy and it's an effect of the pollution, and that we're destroying the planet. And the pollution comes from many different sources. It's from cars and factories and power plants that create electricity. um, the burning of coal for electricity is a source of carbon emissions, and so if you could in a form, you could try to reduce that as much as possible. Think carefully about the appliances that you have in your home and how often they're on, or do you need them on, or the lights that you have on. You can choose to purchase appliances that don't use a lot of electricity. If it's a refrigerator or a dishwasher, dryer, when you make the purchase, you can look at how efficient that appliance is, or try not to use the appliance. I very often dry my clothes outside. I have a clothesline, actually two clotheslines, and they're in my backyard. And I put my clothes when they come out of the washing machine. I often put them on the clothesline, and even in the winter, they still dry. And I actually prefer the the way that the clothes smell after they've been outside for a long time. And sometimes it doesn't take very long. If it's really hot outside, the clothes dry in about the same amount of time as they would in a dryer. So that's one little thing. I don't know how much that saves in terms of electricity, but that's one thing that people can do. Dry their clothes outside. Um, Taking the bus, taking the train, riding a bike instead of driving your own personal vehicle is another thing that we can do. It's an easy thing in some places, not everywhere. But I when I can, I ride my bike to school where I teach. And I think that helps. I like to think that helps at some small level. Wise man says, "I think there's a God that takes care of the planet. There's no worry about it." I think the planet is going to be fine over time. It's it's us. It's all the people who are on the planet I'm concerned about, and the other species, the other plants and animals. The planet has been around for a long time. It's been here for billions of years, and it's gone through many changes. And I think once we're gone, then the planet should be able to snap back. But I think, yeah, the planet will be fine. It's the people that I'm concerned about. People, the plants, the animals. I'm just reading the comments here. Um, yeah, there are some economic concerns. Certain companies make money because of the way that we consume things. Because of the things that we purchase. There are a lot of companies that make money from those purchases. And and if that contributes to the climate changing from all these different purchases that are made by millions and millions of people, and someone's making money off that, that is a difficult thing to change. I think there has to be an incentive for companies to change their practices so that they can build in ways of saving electricity or making better decisions about how um, resources are used, and then they can let consumers know about the things that they're doing when they're making products, and then consumers can decide what they want to purchase. If, for example, you decide to buy milk, how is that milk produced? Um, and where was it produced? How far did it come from? Was it local? Um, were the cows that made the milk able to graze, in a pasture, eat grass? that kind of thing. I think that makes a difference. Or consuming less milk, consuming less meat. If we ate less meat, there would not be as many production. And so that's one thing, just if we eat less meat and consider alternatives to meat. There are a lot of things that you can eat besides meat, fruits, vegetables, grains. It's not necessary to eat meat 3 times a day. There are people who do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and just those simple decisions can make a difference as well. Uh, a student is asking me if, in my opinion, the climate change is natural or the if natural or the flash is responsible. Um, I'm not sure which word the person was asking about. No, I don't think it's. I don't think it's natural. I think it's changing based on human activity. And it's if you ever seen satellite images of planet Earth shown when night falls, and in areas where it's dark and you can see the illumination, the lights that are coming from the various cities that are below, and you can see all those lights and how in the what the lights represent are the millions of people who occupy those spaces, and it's all over the globe. So I think in heavily populated areas, it's just really obvious that we're creating lots of pollution, using lots of resources, and and burning all different kinds of things. All that stuff is going off out into the atmosphere and adding more carbon, and that's increasing the average temperature. Again, I'm not an expert on this, on the science. I I read about it. I pay attention to what I hear on the radio and what I read in the newspaper, and listen to the scientists, the experts on this, and they're all saying the same thing: is that we have to do something. We have to do something to change. Yeah, the deforestation of the Amazon is creating a lot of problems. The Amazon um, in South America absorbs a lot of carbon dioxide, and now with all the burning of the forests in the Amazon, that's contributing uh, to the amount of carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere. And those forests are disappearing, so they can't, once they're gone, they won't be able to take in that carbon dioxide. And yeah, that's a huge problem. I do think we should use renewable, uh, you know, sources of energy. So as much as possible, wind power, solar, hydroelectric power from rivers, um, geothermal energy is a good source of energy that comes from the ground. And but then also, I think good planning helps. So when cities are planned, try to keep people within a certain area instead of spreading everybody out. Try to keep people within a certain geographic area. You don't have to be stacked up into big apartment buildings, but I think with smart planning, that creates a place where you don't have to really drive that much. Um, I think that is immensely helpful. More people are forced to go into car drive, they have their own vehicles, the less exercise that they get. So instead of getting in a car and driving, it certainly is much better for you and for your health to walk or ride a bike and or walk to the bus station, walk to the train station. That's good for your overall health. This is one of the reasons why people in the United States have health issues, and a lot of people here are overweight. They don't get enough exercise, and when you're sitting in a car, in some cases, people when they commute to work, it's 1 hour there and 1 hour back from work. That's 2 hours of just sitting, and sitting all day long at work is bad too for your health. Um, so I mean that's bad enough as it is. If you're working in an office or you work at a desk and you're not moving your body, at least when you're going to work, you have that opportunity to move your body, and get that exercise that you really need, which is natural. Claudia says that they're installing panels on the roof to save on electricity. That's great. Solar panels are a great idea. I wish I could afford solar panels for my house. It's a little bit expensive, but I have considered putting them maybe in my backyard. I have a little bit of space in the back where I could perhaps set up some solar panels or maybe get a windmill. I'm not sure if the windmills that are available for the average homeowner. I don't know if they're small enough now. I have seen some that people have put on their homes. They look a little big, and but I think that's another possibility, another form of technology that we might be able to use to lessen the amount of electricity that we consume. If you can produce it at your home, if you have the solar panels on your house or in your backyard or on your car, new cars equipped with solar panels um, will generate electricity for the battery, power for the battery. But I think there's a technology that allows that solar energy collected by a car that's sitting outside to be fed into the electric grid. So if you can imagine in a parking lot where cars are sitting outside and not really doing anything, if they all have solar panels fixed to the roofs and other parts of the car, they would be able to collect that energy and feed it back into the grid or to the car. And just simple things like that, I think, are helpful. Uh, s- uh, I think it's Max Pena says we belong to a green group whose aim is protecting and raising awareness on nature. Good. Yeah, I think joining community groups can be very helpful. I used to belong to a conservation group in the community where I live now. It's since disbanded, but our goal was to monitor the quality of the water in the area where I live. So we would go to the area lakes and check the quality of water, how visible it was, the contaminants that were in the water, algae, those kinds of things. And yeah, that there are things that you can do as an individual, as a citizen. If you report that to the local authorities. Um, Sound pollution is a problem. You know, if there's a someone in the neighborhood where you live making a lot of noise with a leaf blower or some other appliance or machine, that's something that you can report. Perhaps I know it's a possibility here. I think sometimes when people use machines, they don't realize the impact that they're having, like a leaf blower. The leaf blower is really annoying to me. It's not only is it loud, and the decibels are really high. So I think if you're close to a leaf blower, you really should be wearing some sort of hearing protection, because that over time can hurt your ears, your eardrums. But not only that, it's all the energy that is used to make the air come out of the leaf blower and just blow the leaves around. I don't know why people just don't use a rake, you know, a simple rake and rake up the leaves or the debris from the ground, or think about different landscape choices, because I don't know if we really need all of this grass around buildings and homes. If it's possible, a better alternative would be natural plants and flowers and bushes and trees instead of a lot of grass, which in some places is artificial. Grass looks great. It's beautiful when it's maintained, but in some places, especially desert areas, grass just doesn't seem to make any sense. So, because you have to, yeah, then you have to cut it and you have to water it, and it just doesn't really seem to make sense to me. So, so a lot of people coming in still from different parts of the world. And I'm just reading some of the comments here. Yeah, I think the use of electric cars is a good solution. Now, the electricity for the batteries still has to be provided through some means that are not exactly clean. That electricity could be produced from the burning of coal or petroleum, or it could be nuclear. Um, so the more renewable resources that are used for creating electricity, the better. The more solar, the more wind power for creating electric power. That's great for electric vehicles. The great thing, a couple of really nice things about electric vehicles is, in addition to the fact that they're not going to be directly polluting the environment with emissions that come out from the exhaust, but they're relatively simple machines. There aren't as many moving parts, and there aren't as many things to fix. So the initial expense to get that electric vehicle might be kind of high, but your overall expenses, and that include maintenance and other things, repairs, that should be reduced. And so yeah, try to get an electric car. There are many choices that are available now and will be coming out in years to come very soon. Tesla is the most obvious. I'm sure you've seen Teslas out. They're beautiful cars. But there's a company called Fisker, and it's an American company. They're located in California, and they'll have cars on the road at the end of 2022. And so and some others, the big automakers, General Motors, Ford, they're also working on electric vehicles. So we'll see them. Yeah, eh, a lot of the pollution that is created does come from, these greedy companies that are only really interested in the bottom line, in making money. So, but I think if if those companies realize the real costs associated with the production of electricity through the burning of fossil fuels, compared to the cost of generating electricity with renewable resources, I think gradually, hopefully very quickly, um, those companies will start converting, and stop using fossil fuels for the production of energy, of electricity. George Chen is mentioning hydrogen as a source of new energy. Yeah, I know, it's very exciting. Um, you can get your energy from water. There's a lot of I think there's still a lot of research and development that has to go into that, but absolutely, hydrogen is a great source of energy. There are, in the United States now, buses that run on hydrogen. Not a lot, but you do see them. Um, Cars that run on hydrogen, I think it might be out there, but I haven't seen any on the streets. Um, Vart is mentioning that he does not remember um, the the warm winters that he's experiencing now, and the hot summers, and compared to, I think, when he was a boy, 1994. Yeah, big difference over 30 years, almost 30 years. I've noticed that too, and I personally feel very uncomfortable now when it's warm in the autumn, or in the winter. Makes me feel very uncomfortable. I really do prefer cold weather. I like hot weather too, but when it's 20 degrees outside in December, I'm just fine with that. And but now, sometimes in December it's not that cold. It's in the 40s, which is unusual for Minnesota. Normally, in this part of the country, in the winter, it goes much, much below, I mean, a lot below zero. It goes way below zero Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius. And so that still happens, but doesn't happen as often. Nima is, uh, oh yeah, yeah. I know the screen is stuck sometimes. I'm sorry. Nima is asking if we could talk about English, the struggles of new learners. And sure, um, I guess I just tell people, just practice every day, and then English will be less of a struggle. It's always a struggle to learn anything for the first time, or the second time, or third time. And yeah, if you're coming to English, um, as a second language, and you're older, if you're a teenager, or if you're in your 20s or 30s, yeah, it can be a real struggle. But don't give up. Just keep working at it. Um, and over time, you'll improve. But it does require daily practice. Listening, reading. Those two things are important. You can do that yourself. Speaking and writing, those are also really important. Um, Having a conversation requires another person. That might not always be possible. And writing is something that you can do, making mistakes or not. There are a lot of different websites now that can take, look at your writing and see where there are areas for improvement. I use on my computer, I use Grammarly. I don't need it, but it does offer gentle reminders from time to time about things that I could fix when I'm writing something. And I do write. I write on a daily basis. I was writing quite a bit more when I was working on my last website, and so I've taken a little break from that. But with the upcoming website, I'll be back into writing. That last website, by the way, still out there, is 4,000 pages of material. And I benefited from just that constant daily exercise of writing. And you will too, whether it's your first language or if it's English, you'll benefit from that practice of just writing, whatever it is. If you have a purpose related to work or it's just for yourself, if you keep a journal, I think that's a good idea. If you're in the habit of writing about your life, I think writing about the things that you do every day in English can be helpful. So you just go through the entire day. What did you do in the morning? What did you do in the afternoon? What did you do in the evening? What did you do last week? What are you planning to do? What are you thinking about? Write about those things. Make it personal, and that can be extremely helpful. Um, just reading comments. Sorry. Oh, okay. So Nima um, says that, and this is a pretty common thing. She says, "I can understand, but I cannot talk that well, talk that good." Yeah, it's very common. I hear that from my students all the time. They can understand, but when it comes to speaking and producing the words, it's hard. And again, it requires daily practice. But also, if you're an adult, it's hard sometimes because adults are so afraid of making mistakes. So I would just say, just try it, whatever it is that you're trying to say, just try it, let it come out. You can also record your voice. If you use a voice recorder, whether it's a tape recorder or something on your computer, record yourself speaking and then listen to it. You know, I think that's really helpful. Um, if you think about children who are learning a language, and production of language is really important for them, but they're not as afraid of making a mistake. They just say what they're thinking. They just do it, and um, whether they made a mistake or not, it doesn't seem to bother them that much. But with older people, once you're in your teenage years and you're in your adult years, you are more concerned about making a mistake. So don't limit yourself with that fear. Try to overcome that fear and just say what you're thinking. The students that I have the most success with are the ones who come from parts of the world where they're forced into speaking, and they have to they're going to make mistakes because they're forced into speaking. They have to communicate. They live in areas where there are three or four or five different languages spoken, so they have to use what they know in order to communicate. And those are the students who do well as English learners. I'm thinking of students who come from Somalia and Kenya, Ethiopia. That area of Africa where there are so many different languages spoken. Just by listening, and then by making a effort to communicate. I think that's um, an extremely good way to improve your English. Just speak, and the words will come. And you notice that when I'm speaking, sometimes the words don't come to me. I think it's because of the forum that I'm in right now. It's unusual for me to sit in front of the computer like this and just talk. I know I'm not by myself, but it feels a little bit like I am. Although I know there are 30 some people here right now. But it's I'm not used to doing it. I'm trying to get used to doing this, but it still feels a little awkward. Um, but even I struggle. And but when I'm in the classroom, it's much easier, of course, to communicate because you got people in front of you and people are asking you questions. It's always good, to ask questions. That's something that you can do too when you want to practice your English. Practice asking questions. You know, you don't always have to have something of great importance to say. Just asking a simple question is sufficient. So someone says that I don't know if he or I think it's a man has been teaching English for 26 years, and it has been a great help. I'm glad. That's good. I'm glad I've been able to help you in some ways. Yeah, use the videos. Look at what I do when I teach. Um, I try to keep it simple. I try to speak slowly, and I edit the videos, so I edit out a lot of things that don't contribute to the lesson. I don't think it's necessary to talk about things that are not related to the lesson, you know. So I'll cut that out if I think it's not necessary. I just cut it out. Keep the videos to 3 minutes or 4 minutes. I think people lose their attention quickly nowadays because of the internet and television. The average attention span for a video really is about 3 minutes. Um, some of the videos I've made recently are longer. They're 6 or 7 minutes, but I always thought 3 minutes or 4 minutes was a good amount of time. But I always wonder about the effectiveness of the videos, especially for people who don't know a lot of English. That's always been a concern. How can somebody learn English if they don't speak English or they don't know any vocabulary? They don't have a lot of experience with it. How are they able to benefit? And so I hope that those students will look at some of that, those basic English videos, start from there. It's a good idea to start with the basics, even the alphabet for some students whose alphabet is quite different from the one that we use. But the alphabet, the numbers, months, days of the week, um, simple things like pronouns are important. Certain verbs are really important. Uh, knowing names of things. So it just takes time. But fortunately for us, there's the internet, and we can all learn something new by going to the internet. I practice my German on YouTube, and I'm just watching videos. I'm not talking, but I do practice sometimes with exercises, writing exercises, and and then in the comments area, when I have a comment to make, I'll put it in German. Although sometimes I cheat and I'll go to the translator. I'll go to Google Translate and see if my comment is any good. I'll, Sometimes I'll do it in German first, check the English. I said unstable. So the connection is occasionally unstable, and that's why there are these interruptions. Sorry. I don't know why that happened. I guess it's because so many people use the internet. Um, this a student is asking when I speak on the streamings if I'm speaking in my natural speed or slower than I normally do. Yeah, this it's a little different. It's probably a little slower. It's not natural because I'm really sitting here by myself, although you're here, but it's hard sometimes to do this because it just feels unusual. I don't do it every day. And like mentioned before, I think if I practice doing this every day, then I'll get better at it and it will feel more natural. Um, I might use fewer contractions when I'm speaking here, although this will sound more natural than when I do the videos. Because when I'm doing the videos, I'm projecting my voice more. Um, I'm speaking slowly. I might not be using contractions. I'm careful about word choice, and here not as much. So I suppose there would be some benefit from watching a video like this where I'm just talking. Uh, Although it makes me uncomfortable, who cares? You know, it doesn't make a difference to me. The older you get, the less you care about the way you look or sound or come off in front of other people. You'll notice that as you get older. Um, a student is asking who I teach English to in Minnesota. So the vast majority are adults over the age of 21. I have some students who are a little bit younger than that, not that many. So I teach in an adult diploma program. And at our school, we provide education to people from other countries. It's English, but it's also high school curriculum. And they can get a high school diploma from our school. And once you have a high school diploma from an American school, it's much easier to get into a college, sometimes into an American college. Sometimes people come here without or with a degree, I'm sorry, diploma from high school, but for some reason the college doesn't recognize that high school or that high school doesn't exist really. It disappeared. Sometimes schools disappear because of conflict. There's a war and the school is destroyed and all the records are destroyed. More often than not, however, a lot of people who come to us really didn't have the chance to go to school. They had to work at home or they had to work for their parents or for the family business. War, conflict got in the way and they couldn't get to school. They had to stay home. And so we provide a free education and it's great. I'm very happy to be a part of it. Most of my students right now are from Somalia, Ethiopia, Mexico, Central American countries, Vietnam, Cambodia, Russia. I get people from China, um, yeah, all over the world, really. Not many from Europe, so everywhere else, but not a lot from Europe. Uh, Russians, of course, I think that counts as Europe. But yeah, they come from all over. And it's this is one of the great things that we do here. When people come from other countries, we help them assimilate and acculturate the way things are done here, provide them with the knowledge that they need to be successful. And then they get good jobs and contribute to society and raise families. And it's a great thing. I, it's not a surprise that so many people want to come here because once you're here, there's a lot of support. There's a lot of help. and we can't help everybody, but I think we can certainly help more people than we have been lately. Um, with this wave of refugees from Afghanistan, I hope we get some of them. I expect that they'll be scattered throughout the country. That's usually the way it works. Probably a lot of them will go to California, but it's a big country and there are a lot of places they can go to. And not just the United States, they can go other countries too, of course. Claudia is asking me if I can tell everyone how I became an English teacher and did I have another job before becoming an English teacher. Well, originally when I went to college, I studied radio and television. I wanted to be involved in production, television production, radio production. I also studied cinema, so I was interested in film production. And after college, I couldn't find jobs in those areas that just happens to be a very attractive area to work in. A lot of people want to work in television or radio or cinema. And so I got a job at a newspaper. I worked for the Chicago Tribune, and I worked there for 3.5 years. It wasn't a great job. It's just low level writing, nothing to take pride in. And then I decided to go back to school, and I was 20. I think I was 25, 24, 25 when I decided to go back to school, and I was in a 2-year teaching program at DePaul University in Chicago, and so I got my teaching credentials, and then I started teaching, and I started in Illinois when I was living in Chicago, and now I'm here in Minnesota, and I've been teaching now since 1988. My first teaching position was at a school for adults in Chicago, where I taught English as a second language, and that was great. That was my first job teaching. Really great experience. So I've been doing this since 1988, and I really like it. It's interesting. It's always interesting, no matter who I'm working with. I have the pleasure of meeting people from around the world every day I go to school, every day I go to work. I, you know, it, I've got a class full of people from 10 different countries, and it's really, really interesting. And I like to see the improvement that people make, and I'm interested in English too. I'm interested in finding ways to help people become better in their English. I'm interested in um, just that improvement, that daily improvement. How do you get somebody from one day to the next, or from one level of English to the next level? That's interesting to me. I've been talking for 54 minutes. Usually I only do this for about a half an hour. So, um, yes, Claudia, it is. It's very rewarding to be a teacher. I'm very, very happy, grateful to have the opportunity. It doesn't pay very well, as you might know, but it's fine. I'm not going to complain about that. I I've had a good life as a teacher. So, but listen, I gotta go, and it's Friday here. It's afternoon. I'm gonna go up on my roof. I have to fix a few things. I have some time off right now. I'm trying to fix my house, and I've got some holes I gotta patch, I guess. Yeah, go ahead, Nemo. I'm gonna take off here, but what what would you like to ask? Claudia asking about how expensive it is to live in Minnesota. It's not that much. I mean, compared to other places, it's not that bad. It's very reasonable. It's better than California, New York. He was asking about the salary. Yeah, see, I'm not going to tell you the amount. but it's good, you know? I think the average, not my salary, but I think the average salary now, if you think about like, let's say it's a 30-year-old teacher who's had 5 or 6 years of experience, I'd say that person probably makes around 45 to $50,000 a year, and then as you get older, you get more, it's always increasing. It always increases. But, yeah, it pays not great, you know? Most of my friends make a lot more than I do. Uh, the vast majority of my friends make, 100,000, $150,000 a year. I'm nowhere near that. I'm nowhere near that. So, but I don't care. I like what I do. My dog is barking at someone, so I gotta leave for that reason too. Um, okay, have a good day, everybody. It's been nice chatting with you, and I'll see you next week sometime. Bye.